Someone you may not know who was a superstar, also a prima ballerina of Broadway, was the fabulous Gwen Verdon. Gwen Verdon did the most amazing musicals, and she'd Redhead, Damn Yankees, and I saw her in a show called Sweet Charity, she was so wonderful. I felt madly in love with her in the show. Such an incredible personality. She sort of, you felt she was giving you part of herself. She gave everything she possibly could. And I was so enamored by her in the show, I just couldn't believe it. Well, then years later, after worshipping her in the show, I also, when I was directing the National Ballet in Washington, and the National Ballet was closing. So we had about a month to go before the end of the contract, before the company would be no more, sadly, because it was such a good company. Anyway, we were scheduled to perform in New York at City Center, and we were going to do a big gala on the last night with a dinner and everything, big fundraiser for the company. So the evening would end with the last act of Sleeping Beauty. Margot had agreed to dance Aurora with Desmond Kelly. Paulette Goddard had agreed to do the Queen. Patsy Kelly did the Russian. Julie Newmar, who at that time was Catwoman on television, did the Cats, Puss in Boot and the Cats. Who else was there? And Freddie Franklin actually was the king with Paulette Goddard, and Arlene Francis was the Lilac Fairy, and she came on and signed in because did that show where you came and signed in, What's My Line or whatever it was, and she was the Lilac Fairy, and then the fabulous Gwen Verdon was Red Riding Hood and the Wolf. So it came about that I started working on this because I had to choreograph all these strange people, and I sort of started working with this Red Riding Hood, one of the boys in the company, and she said, "Why don't you do it with me?" She said, "You're older than this young boy," she said, "and I would feel more at home, doing it with you." So the dancer was overjoyed, was kind of a bit embarrassed doing it. So I stepped in and we did Red Riding and the Wolf. And actually, there are pictures around of Gwen and I as Red Riding and the Wolf. She was fabulous. And actually, during this time, we became really good friends. And it was after that we were going to do, when I got to Houston after that, we were going to do Freddie Ashton's Facade, one of his fun old ballets. So I called Gwen and I said, how would she like to do the tango in Facade with me? She said she'd always wanted to be with the ballet company, but she never was. So she said, I'd love to. So she came and we did the tango in Facade. Fabulous, so she was doing it. She came back and she taught in the school for a month. And she taught jazz, not only to the top class, but to adults and everyone. And we paid her so little money. But at the end, I gave her the check for it. And when I got to the airport with her, she gave me back the check and she said, put it to the scholarship fund. So that showed the sort of person she was. Fantastic. And I continued. I went to the opening of Chicago with Gwen and the other extraordinary super prima ballerina of Broadway, Chita Rivera. And while I was there with the Houston Ballet, I was lucky enough to get the Dance Magazine Award, which is a big award given in New York. So I went to get the award, and out front, came running down the aisle after I got it, was Gwen to congratulate me. She'd come to see this, which I thought was so sweet. Ivan Nagy gave me the award, and it was certainly very nice. And certainly, I will always remember and hope you will too, the fabulous Gwen Verdon.